We have our second land from Max. And a second land, including Grove of the Burn Willows, reveals Bob, the Dark Confidant. Brainstorm in response to Dark Confidant, hoping to pick up a Spell Snare, or if not that, a Swords to Plowshares. Force of Will would probably be fine as well. Again, we see a copy, 3 copies of Force of Will. Again, a very common response. If you've got 4 Mental Missteps, you don't need as many Force of Wills.
Land fetched. And
look at that, different tundras.
Yeah, he's got 1 black border, 1 white border on the board. Hoping not to be dazed. Says it on his sleeves.
Swords to Plowshares. One of the best removal spells of all time. Main phase Brainstorm, a legacy staple. Waits to see what he wants to piece together from his hand. And lays an island. And then Ancestral Visions. Shaheen Sarani walks up to tell us that he has lost in a second draft open. That means he is not going to be a 5-time champion this weekend.
Because you're terrible at drafts, obviously.
Should I delay my article on draft strategy?
No.
Have a good drive.
We got a Mox Diamond from Scott Robbins. A little bit of fetchy fetch going on. Windswept Heath. He's going to find, looks like an old school. Wow. That is a...
oh, we have these switched.
Yeah.
No, it's not that. Not that.
Not that. That's the other one. An old school plateau. That is a unlimited plateau. You can see the alt art on it. Knight of the Reliquary.
I'm not sure.
Unlimited edition.
Is that what that is?
That's an unlimited plateau there.
Wow, I didn't even realize they had a different, like, alternate art for that.
Jace the Mind Sculptor comes down from Max. I don't even know how much that unlimited plateau is worth, but I think it's worth a fair amount more than the revised one.
According to this site, it's about $70 or $75 compared to the $45 or $50 that the revised version is worth.
And celebrity judge Jeremy Smith says that it has also really cool art. The reasoning for that, as was just stated, you probably couldn't hear it, the original art was lost. They couldn't find it, so they had to commission some new art. I cannot see what he just cast there. The glare is too big. It's a DCI promotional card of some kind. Can you make that out?
Having trouble. He didn't really move it.
The glare, it's a 2 casting cost spell, whatever it is, and it just got Force of Willed. Is that a Burning Wish, perhaps? It might have been a Burning Wish.
Could have been.
No, it's definitely a Burning Wish. I can see the lady on it.
Okay, good.
And follow up with a Sylvan Library. Looks like a Legends Sylvan Library.
All right. Ancestral Visions ticks down.
Empty-handed Max, but he's got a Jace.
And He goes from empty hand to 4 cards in hand.
To 2 cards in a moment.
Yeah, he has to put 2 back, but considering he had no cards in hand at the start of this turn,
I predict that Scott Robbins is going to either draw an extra card or 2 extra cards in this coming turn. Batterskull. That's a huge moment right there.
hard
for
cast
Max.
Batterskull.
Scott untaps. Draw. Activate Sylvan. 3 cards there. How many of them do you want? 1 is free, and it's 4 life per card after that. There's the Germ token being given by the judge. He takes 4 damage. Taps 2/3 mana. Maelstrom Pulse on the Jace.
That will resolve, being that Max is empty-handed.
Fetching to go down to 16. Taiga. 2 mana left. Could be something like a Tarmogoyf, for example. The Tarmogoyf would do it. A Burning Wish would be useful.
What's he wish for?
Something good.
Well, it's a Burning Wish.
That's a Burning Wish. Ooh, I wonder what he's going to get.
Something good, according to my co-commentator.
That Devastating Dreams?
I think it may be.
I'm confused. Okay, what was that?
What could it have been? Pulverize?
No, not Pulverize. Oh, it could have been Pulverize. Yeah, it was Pulverize.
Okay.
Sacrifice 2 mountains to cast Pulverize, and then destroy all artifacts. That includes the Mox.
And the
that
Batterskull,
kills
of
the
course.
Batterskull.
Yeah.
The tick down of the Ancestral Visions. Sylvan Library there. There's a Wasteland that hits one of Scott's remaining 2 lands. Sylvan from Scott, he's got 3 cards to look at. How many will he take? 1 is free, 4 life for everyone beyond that. He takes 1 for 4 life, down to 12. Says go. And then finally, after all of this time, Ancestral Visions ticks, and there it is.
Matt draws 3 cards off the Visions, 1 for the turn, and he is stocked up.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Vendilion Click or Spellstarter Sprite lock this game down. One of the things I'm very impressed by with Scott Robbins here is his, what seems to me, effective and correct use of Sylvan. And what I mean by that is, you don't want to just snap take 8 in these situations. You want to make sure that you manage your life total. And you take the cards that you want to take, not just take any card. Land go, land go. Scott Robbins looks at 3 again. What he's looking for here... Did he take 2 that time? Nope, just took 1, I think. What he's looking for here is land, first of all, and then life from the loam as well. Spellstarter Sprite comes down on the table. In with the Sprite. Down to 11. Here he takes 4, knocking himself down to 7. Mox, does it resolve? He could just Riptide Lab, bring back the Sprite, cast a Sprite if he wanted.
That seems like the play to me. Finds a Tundra off a fetch land.
This just in, Canada has crowned a national champion, Mark Anderson.
Congratulations to him.
Meanwhile, back here in the United States, in Boston,
Max returns the Spellstutter Sprite and replays the Spellstutter Sprite to counter the Mox Diamond. And then, in for 1 on his turn, of course. Scott having problems now that he sacrificed lands to cast that Pulverize.
Yeah, that was a big investment to kill the Batterskull.
But it may have been his only way to stay in this game. He may have been dead by now if he hadn't done something like that. Or the game may have been far out of reach. There's a Wasteland from Scott, so he did find a second land finally.
It looks like the Canadian national champion deck was Rug Pod, by the way.
Very interesting. So, Brainstorm from Max. In with the Spell Stutter Sprite.
Tundra is fetched out. Jace.
Jace the Mind Sculptor.
We have the top 8 for the second draft open. All 8 players achieved a 3-0 record in order. Zach Paul, David Weisberg, Michael Bergeron, David Shields, Win Lin, Tom Strong, Adam Van Fleet, and Aaron Lewis. Would the top 8 players please report to draft table 3 for the top 8 draft? Once again, Zach Paul.
Passes the turn. Wasteland on the Riptide Lab. Max is fine with that.
Win Lin, Tom Strong, Adam Van Fleet, and Aaron Lewis.
Good luck to Star City Games Live commentator Zach Hall in the top 8 of that.
Yeah, he's doing commentary in an upcoming event.
Another Mox. How's this one sound? We see a fetch.
You just have another Spell Stutter Spray. And he does.
Doubles his clock.
So not only does he keep Max from casting the Mox, but I'm sorry, keep Scott from casting the Mox, but he like Scott used a Wasteland on a Riptide Laboratory, so right now he would have had a third land.
Riftstone Portal from Scott. Wasteland tears up the unlimited plateau. Stoneforge Mystic. Scott scooping it up here in a second, I think.
Yeah.
There's a Sword of Feast and Famine. Now he knows a Sword of Feast and Famine is in Max's deck, and so he scoops it up.
Yeah, it's interesting. Scott didn't have very much to scoop up. It was a single land there.
And a Sylvan, and a Sylvan.
Oh, that's right. The Sylvan Library. You're right.
Okay, so sideboarding for any deck that's a Wish deck is always a little bit of a tricky affair. You don't want to take out too many cards from your... well, your sideboard is eaten up a little bit by Wish targets. Mm-hmm. And in this case, we see the non-Wish targets are 3 Red Elemental Blasts, 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Angel's Grace. So Red Elemental Blast is almost certainly going to be brought in. And then the other question is, are there any cards in your sideboard, your sorceries, that you don't expect you would wish for, but you might want? And in this case, I don't think there are. Pulverize, Life from the Lone, Retribution of the Meek, Thoughtseize, and Devastating Dreams, those are all cards you want to have access to on a Wish. So you're going to leave those alone. It's going to be 3 Red Elemental Blasts coming in, and some cards coming out. The question is what? You know, I might board out the 1 Maelstrom Pulse if I were Scott Robbins, because 1 Maelstrom Pulse in the board makes his Burning Wishes turn Maelstrom Pulse on.
Right.
Whereas 1 Maelstrom Pulse in the main is a card you have to find with a Sylvan Library.
Yeah.
Of which he only has 1.
Right. I agree with you. I'm with you on that. I think that seems like a decent move there.
On the other side of the universe, Max, he's definitely bringing in a Crucible of the Worlds in this matchup.
It's a #1 target there. Crucible of Worlds for sure.
I don't
got,
mind Threads of Disloyalty against Bob and Tarmogoyf.
Yeah. One copy of that. He's got an Elspeth in the board, which just can really take over a game, just adding to the clock. +3/+3ing spell, even just a spell starter sprite, you know.
I don't mind Relic of Progenitus against either Life from the Loam, Tarmogoyf, or Knight of the Reliquary.
Yeah.
Or he saw Grove of Burnwillows. He can presume this probably Punishing Fire. So 2 relics are definitely coming in. Spell Snare also seems quite reasonable. It's a lot of cards here for Max. What are his cards that are not as good? Strangely, I think Mental Misstep is one of the cards that's not as
I
good.
was just about to ask you what mental misstep targets are available over
It
there
gets
on the other side.
Swords and Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is not a joke, but I mean, I'm not sure that having 4 copies of Mental Misstep when there are so few targets is reasonable. I think he could presume, though, Mental Misstep might fight a Blast. So
Right.
keeping that in makes it more reasonable.
He did see, or at least we saw blasts, and I assume Max did too, because Scott, when he resolved the Burning Wish, was no. He wasn't. He kind of just did it right there in front of Max, not really.
I mean, maybe you drop down to 3 Mental Missteps just to have access to them, but not necessarily to, have a lot of them.
Right.
But I mean, there's a lot of cards to fit in, and not many cards that I actually think I would want to take out.
Yeah, those spell stutters seem particularly effective against the Mox Diamonds,
Oh yeah.
just for that free.
I mean, you don't even get to do the trick where you kill the Spellstutter sprite to stop the counterspell. It still has 0 fairies in play,
Yeah.
so it'll still counter a Mox.
Yeah.
Scott Robbins contemplates his hand. He looks like he's ready to keep it. Max seems a little less certain. To the mulligans. For those of you who are interested in such things, congratulations to Gabriel Nassif. It's his wedding day today. He married top 16 competitor Liz Limpecki. Liz Limpecki getting top 16 at Grand Prix Milwaukee a couple of years back. So we've got a magic wedding that happened today. And in addition to that, congratulations once again to Jamie Wakefield. Happy birthday. You made it another year.
Congratulations, you made it another year.
Well, I mean, he's been doing some mixed martial arts stuff lately.
Oh, okay,
so
maybe it's
he made it another year.
Fair comment there.
If you ever get a chance, you should read Jamie Wakefield's writings online. Not only are they really entertaining, but he's basically interested in computer games, mixed martial arts, and magic.
He also wrote Quest for the Pro Tour, isn't that right?
His books about magic are awesome. With the game in play, Scott Robbins, turn 1, Mox and Taiga, go. Mox is one of my favorite cards right now. Cycle, Tranquil Thicket. No other cycles. You can see the Red Elemental Blast in his hand. Wasteland knocks out the Tundra. Mana spin into the pool. I bet you we're going to see an attack declaration, see if a Brainstorm comes out. Attack? What you got? Anything? Anything? Nope. Well, I don't have anything for my second main phase either. Island from Max. Grove of the Burnwillows. If this is a Life from the Loam, it's going to be the beginning of Danger Times. Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf.
The much less scary. Does he want to fight for the Tarmogoyf? I guess he says sure.
And the Goyf hits the table. Max debating on which line to play, and it is a simple basic plane, so.
Unwastelandable for Max. In comes the Goyf. It's pretty small. It
2/3?
might be a 2/3 if Scott has that right. I bet you he's correct. Lands an
Warrior.
instance, I think. Knight of the Reliquary. How do you feel about that? Perhaps a card that might and the reminder die. Swords to Plowshares removes Knight of the Reliquary from the game. Not in the graveyard, Scott. Not in the graveyard. There you go. Tarmogoyf cares about that guy. Gotta get him out of the graveyard.
Exactly. Alright, Max, you have your third land drop? I think he does. Yes. And it is
Mutavault
immutable.
from Max. Looks like a Devastating Dreams in Scott's hand. In for 2. I think we're going to see a Dark Confidant. Dark Confidant's cast. Max takes a gander, thinks about it. Swords to Plowshares on the Dark Confidant. Land. A Jace here would be particularly devastating. Nope. Go.
Not sure what's in Max's hand here. Maybe more reactive spells, but
A Vendilion Click can block and kill the Tarmogoyf right now. Scott's contemplating whether he wants to attack. Here comes Tarmogoyf.
and
There's the Vendilion Click.
Vendilion Click.
What you got? Looks like a Burning Wish, a Devastating Dreams, and a Mox.
Yep.
I would get rid of that Burning Wish with a quickness. Get that out of there. That card represents life from the
so
loam.
many different things. Yeah.
I would say it just represents life from the loam. That card by itself.
And he agrees.
Scott Robbins draws. Vendilion Click blocks. We now see a clear board. And off the top, Knight of the Reliquary. This is a big moment here for Max. He knows his opponent's hand. It's a fairly weak hand. What's he going to do about it?
Plays a Polluted Delta. Taps 4 for Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Oh,
bounce
boy.
it to bounce to the Knight of the Reliquary. So
Max is taking control. Scott needs a life from the loam right now, or it's just not going to be good enough. Maze of Ith. I don't even know about laying that Maze of Ith.
Max determining exactly what he wants to do here with Jace. Obviously, what he wants to do is brainstorm, but unfortunately, there's a knight there that he has to worry about.
Relic of Progenitus. Now even the life from the loam as an escape hatch has been shut down. I think you've just been forced into relaying the knight.
And,
Bob.
Dark Confidant.
Says go.
Activates the relic.
Lose a card of your choice. A lot of people forget that it has a tap ability.
Yeah. They just use it like it's a
Tormod script.
Alright, there's a Brainstorm from Jace. See a sort of feast and famine there. Two back. Do you shuffle him away? He's thinking about what exactly he's putting back, I think, because he may end up shuffling them away. Does look like he's going to keep that sword. Which to me means he probably doesn't have a Stoneforge, but I thought I saw one in his hand. So maybe he wants a Stoneforge into Batterskull. Yeah, I think that's what he's going to do. Stoneforge into Batterskull. Yeah, there it is. And then he's going to, and now, you know, his opponent knows, okay, he has Batterskull in hand, but doesn't expect the Feast and Famine. And either way, now has two very, very strong pieces of equipment that he's going to have to deal with, or find an answer for, pretty quickly. And was that another Burning Wish? I couldn't quite see it. Off of Bob?
I didn't see what it
was. It
was.
was a foil, and I want to say it was a promo. There's a second Mox Diamond from Scott.
In comes Bob, offering a trade with Stoneforge Mystic, or perhaps Mutavault. Remember, Scott does have the possibility of using Instants, but not in this case. Does not have one to play. 4 mana available off of the Moxes. See a Punishing Fire.
That's what that was. I thought it was a promo, but it was a foil Punishing Fires.
Targeting Max will likely be redirected to the Jace. It resolves. Jace dies. That was a good moment for Scott.
Yeah,
Scott's
definitely
still in
nice
trouble.
plays.
Please remove a card of your choice, says Max.
Max now appears to be setting up for a sword.
There's a Sword of Feast and Famine.
Yep, Sword of Feast and Famine, go.
Knight of the Reliquary.
Max allows that to resolve.
That unanswered Dark Confidant really gave Scott a kind of some fresh energy there.
All right, so Max activates the relic, and Scott removes another card from his graveyard.
Wrath
Max
of
has
God,
Wrath
nice.
of God during his turn. But that Maze of Ith actually is going to be somewhat troublesome because a creature with a sword or a germ holding a Batterskull isn't very threatening right now. That's all he's got is one creature attacking.
Tarmogoyf. Lose a card. Tarmogoyf gets a little bit smaller. Knight of the Reliquary being removed.
And he has a second Stoneforge Mystic in hand. And there it is.
Stoneforge much better at holding a sword than a Mutavault.
Absolutely. But either one gets untapped by a Maze of Ith.
Well, as a blocker, we know.
Oh,
like,
sure. Definitely great at blocking. Interestingly, now Scott knows that Max probably has the Batterskull. Actually, no, he already knew he had the Batterskull. Knows that Max has no other equipment because he just shuffled his library and didn't find an equipment off of the Stoneforge.
Does he still have that Devastating Dreams?
I believe so. He hasn't cast it, and there's been no reason to discard it.
Attacks with Tarmogoyf.
Max, Path to Exile.
Wow. Path to Exile takes Tarmogoyf out of the equation. Brings in the whatever basic land he has in his deck. A forest?
A forest. And there it is. And that's it. Any more paths to exile are going to be free, per se. You know, cost a white mana, and they're going to be like Swords to Plowshares that don't gain anybody any life.
Laying that land becomes a little bit more problematic now. because by doing so, he can't Devastating Dreams to kill away that Stoneforge Mystic. I don't think his cards in hand are actually any good, so tossing them aside would have been just fine, I think. Sword is equipped to the Stoneforge Mystic. And it's a go. Not bothering to make the Maze of Ith do its work. Meanwhile, drip by drop, the Relic of Progenitus has been eating away at the graveyard. Is that a Phyrexian Metamorph, I think? Maybe. I can't quite make out that card. Oh, it's a Life from the Loam. This is exactly the card that Scott's been waiting for. Now, Scott's graveyard is merely 2 cards, a Punishing Fire and a Life from the Loam. Between the Grove of the Burnwillows and the Tranquil Thicket, he should be able to get back one of those cards into his hand. We get a Batterskull in play at the end of the turn from the Stoneforge Mystic. Max draws. The time is ticking down. 15 minutes remain in this match. We're just in the middle of game 2 here, though. Attack with a bunch of stuff. Wasteland hits the Mutavault. Wasteland is in the yard for that sacrifice effect, so he bounces the Wasteland back to, the Mutavault back to his hand with the Riptide Laboratory. Maze of Ith untaps the Stoneforge Mystic, and the Batterskull hits for 4. For those of you who are just joining us, this is Adrian Sullivan. I'm here in the booth with Joey Pasco. This is round 8 of the Star City Games Live Open Series here in Boston. On the left, Scott Robbins with Agrolome, and Max, I am going to pronounce his name wrong.
I believe it's Tietze, I don't know.
Max with a Stoneblade there on the right. A fetch from Windswept Heath.
In response to the activation of Relic of Progenitus. Which I assume just means he wants to have that fetch line be what he removes.
No, he's gonna cycle. He's gonna cycle, and I think he's gonna get back a Life from the Loam.
Okay.
Returning Life from the Loam, dredging. Or is that returning the Punishing Fire? No, it's not the Punishing Fire.
Didn't look like there was any dredge happening.
Yeah, there needs to be a dredge for that to work. There it is. We might see another. Okay, the relic was tapped. It hadn't been used yet.
Right, exactly.
There we go. Okay. Wow. No
Max
activation of the Grove of Burnwillows in response to get back the Punishing Fire. Oh, he could get that from the Batterskull. The Batterskull lets him get the Punishing Fire back. There we go.
Ah.
A lot of cards in Scott Robbins' hand. I believe he still holds on to that Devastating Dreams from before. A Devastating Dreams for 4 would be devastating. Mox? I guess he's not going to devastate for 4.
There goes a Grove of the Burnwillows, I believe. Yeah, foil. 2 mana. Life from the Loam. Get back what I just discarded to the Mox.
Lay it?
Lay it, yeah. And Well, maybe I want to cast something. Is that a
Punishing Fire. Return the Punishing Fire. And shoot it again. That works just fine, too.
Yeah.
Scott Robbins' deck shifting into a mid-range control deck here.
Scott trying to take a look at what exactly he lost to that relic.
Here comes Mutavault. Mutavault gets equipped. And then here comes Batterskull and Mutavault. Untaps the Mutavault. 4 damage. Also lifelink though. So Punishing Fire returned by Scott Robbins. Fetch from Max. Gets a Tundra.
Crucible of Worlds.
Oh boy, that's devastating.
Yeah, I mean, that can make a huge difference. And he, Max replays a Polluted Delta and immediately cracks it to get another Tundra. Crucible of Worlds, clutch right here, especially in this matchup.
Judge!
Wow. Unfortunately for Max, he popped that relic, which actually, I think, removed his wastelands from the game as well, at least a single wasteland,
Yep.
which he would have been able to use on that Maze Abyss, which is keeping Max from efficiently doing any damage to Scott.
Yeah,
or doing very much.
Life from the Loam looks like it was not returned for the Dredge ability by Scott. It's kind of surprising to me. We're about to hit the 10-minute mark in time remaining.
And we've only got one game done for these guys so far. Definitely a very tight match here. Very tight game 2, specifically.
Path, he removes it from the game, only has the 1 forest. Paths right now are an incredible removal spell for Max.
And again, another card we're mentioning here in Legacy that is available in Modern. Path to Exile, probably the best removal spell in Modern.
We see the
One of.
Ancestral Visions on the table there, ticking down. Yeah. There was no search attempted because there were just no basic lands left.
Right, there's only a
in
single
Scott's
forest.
deck. Just 1 forest in that list. Punishing Fire returned to hand.
Yeah, so this is in response to the equip.
Shoot the Germ.
So double Punishing Fire.
The Germ is dead.
Now, how devastating would Pulverize be right now?
To who?
There, yeah, well, that's true.
Wasteland for Scott Robbins.
That's very true.
In comes Mutavault with sort of Feast and Famine. Goodbye, Devastating Dreams.
So Scott now empty-handed, which is crazy considering how many cards he had in his hand a couple minutes ago.
I really think a few turns ago he missed a huge opportunity to cast Devastating Dreams for 4 and practically wipe Max off the face of the earth.
Yeah, there would have been. I mean, the Crucible would have helped Max dig back in.
Yeah, but I mean, it would have been
but-
versus a Life from the Loam.
Right. It would have definitely been a lot better for Scott to be in that position than the one he's in right now. End of turn, return Batterskull.
And again, I wonder, why did not Scott return the life from the loam? He just drew.
Yeah, he could life from the loam back at that Mazavith that just got destroyed by the Wasteland. Now, of course, Max can continuously replay the Wasteland to destroy, but again...
The issue, though, is you get the opportunity to start using your life from the loam. You can start getting 3 cards for your life from the loam.
Yeah.
There's a Wasteland for Grove. Grove brings back Punishing Fire. I mean, is Scott just thinking he's going to live off of the Punishing Fire alone? I mean, it actually seems like a recipe for a 1-0 loss in this.
Yeah. There's the Batterskull again. There's the Germ. And
if you were not aware your pairings for your 4th and final round are up.
Max forcing Scott to use the Punishing Fire Grove combo yet again twice to destroy the Germ in response to the equip.
6 minutes remain. Scott now does have 3 land in the yard, so if he doesn't return that life from the loan, I'm going to be frowning.
Maybe he didn't remember that part of it, that dredge ability. Or he's just got some other sort of plan.
Dredge, dredge, dredge.
Yeah, at least it looks like he's thinking about it.
Dredge, it's the very bottom card of your graveyard. There it is, there it is. Dredge, yes! Now, with any luck for him, he'll get a Tranquil Thicket or a Forgotten Cave in there.
He hit, I want to say, Red Elemental Blast, potentially Burning Wish, and Tarmogoyf. I want to say he definitely hit the Goyf and the Blast. It's about the blariest part of the table there. Tough to see. And he gets back 3 lands, including very likely that Mazavith, which will provide an additional layer of defense. Plays another Grove of the Burn Willows. There's a Wasteland from Max. Wastes the Grove, which again activates to return the Punishing Fire.
And there it is. That looks like a Forgotten Cave. One of the things I love that Ian DeGraff taught me a long time ago. Expressed, that I think is a very reasonable statement, that there is no rational card draw engine that is more absurd than Life from Below. Some people are like, well, what about Necro? Necro is not a rational card drawing engine.
There's a Spell Snare for a Life from Below.
We got a Mazavith put down.
Mazavith.
Guess I'll have to wait till next turn to get the Life from the Lone engine going again. Returns the Batterskull.
Ancestral Vision's now resolving.
Now Max getting 3 free cards. Well, I mean, 3 cards, and then his draw phase. Less than 5 minutes remain.
Max replays Wasteland. Max brainstorms. Taking a look at Scott's graveyard, but trying to make a decision on how to just do that last 11 damage there. I know that sounds like kind of foolish. And just that little bit of 11 life.
Another Wasteland. Goodbye, Grove. back comes Life from the Loam. Looks like a Tranquil Thicket and a Wasteland are revealed there.
How realistic is it for Max to try to deck Scott?
Not terribly unrealistic. I guess we're going to see a Vendilion Click here to get rid of the Life from the Loam, I think.
I believe you're correct.
Okay, it resolves after targets are announced. I'll punish it. I'll return it.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. Life from the Loam on the bottom. A fresh card for Scott. What you got there, Scott? Something exciting?
He only has 3 Life from the Loams in his deck, right? 1 in the sideboard, which he could, of course, Burning Wish for, right?
Botsies. Let me see your Vendilion Click.
Let me see. Let me show you my Vendilion Click.
Brainstorm, Swords to Plowshares. Looks like 4 land and a Batterskull. So is it the Batterskull or the Click you want to hit? He gets rid of the Click.
Makes sense.
The Click can take care of another Life from the Loam should he draw it.
Exactly.
Scott lays the land. I actually think this was Scott's game to win, and that the turn it went away was when he did not Devastating Dreams and just tossed his whole hand away to try to destroy the board for Max.
It would be a different game. That's
Wasteland. Another moment was the fight over the turn 3 Tarmogoyf, or turn 2 Tarmogoyf. Sword. There is no maze. It's been destroyed. In comes the Mutavault. Untap all of these lands.
Including the Mutavault.
Untap little Mutavault.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's tap it for mana. Batterskull once again. Scott at 4 life. Basically no card that I can think of that'll stop him from losing this one.
You got to commend Max for playing quickly and efficiently, even though at this point in the time he doesn't actually need to play to win. He can play to not lose and take the match.
Burning Wish for Pulverize would make it so that this is a 1-0 win for Max instead of a 2-0 win for Max.
Right.
Legacy players, that is time in round
Ooh,
So that's time.
it
The
might
players may
still
have
be a
couple-
1-0 win.
He may have a couple minutes of extension because they are under the camera. Calcano knocked out by Baccio. And it looks like they're scooping him up. I don't know if that was a concession or an actual win, but I think, Max, I think, actually won the game.
Well, either 1-0 or 2-0.